The threats and dangers of terrorist cells coming about in Mozambique as there's ongoing political unrest in the country is of great concern to security experts. We now speak to Willem Els, who is with the Institute for Security Studies on this. Willem, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. While I have you on this, perhaps to just ask you about the previous story you also just did there. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies seem to have been a transactionary tool for terror financing, and FATF had pointed that out not just in South Africa but the world over. Do you have any sense of how proliferated that might be in South Africa to the last story we just covered?
Good evening to you. Yes, unfortunately so. In South Africa, that is the currency of the method that the funders of terrorism really want to use. They use it because they can conceal some of the transactions. It's more difficult to track these transactions. And we also saw that there was a case in the Netherlands that was linked to South Africa, where the Saunders family that was murdered in KwaZulu-Natal, where a suspect actually used their credit card credentials and he bought these cryptocurrencies and he sent it to ISIS. He was arrested and he's currently serving time in the Netherlands. So that is just one example of what is going on in our country as well.
Yeah, but to the topic at hand, as there is ongoing political unrest in Mozambique, a country that is known to have a problem of terror training and terrorist cells finding grounding there, how much concern is there about the impact that the current unrest might have in proliferating and giving free rein for terrorist organizations to expand?
You know, terrorist organizations, they thrive in situations like this and when things are unstable. We saw that in the last month in Cabo Delgado, there were some 20 attacks. It was slightly down from the 59 from the previous month. But we also saw that, you know, in Cabo Delgado, they got basically 3 or 4, if you want to call it, green zones, where Rwanda and the military of Mozambique is basically in control. The rest of the province is very fluid, it is volatile, and we see that these terrorist cells, they are moving almost freely in those areas, especially in the Macomia area, and of late also south of the N4, that is the road that link Montepes with Pemba, and that is closer to the Nampula province. So we see that these terrorist groups, they tried to venture into Nampula previously. They went there on recruitment, and they brought a lot of people back that they trained. So they are very vibrant at the moment, and at this stage, you know, they just thrive in these type of situations.
Yeah, typically the route for terrorists and terrorist organizations seems to be along the Angola-Mozambique route, and often subverting countries like South Africa and to an extent Namibia and Zimbabwe. But as neighboring countries to Mozambique, South Africa should have some sort of terror intelligence network to be on the guard for this. Do we have sufficient intelligence and forensics depth in terms of skills, but also do we just have the personnel to be able to, one, keep an eye on what's going on, importantly, but two, also to help us make the right decisions to keep our borders secure from terrorist organizations?
We are in a very peculiar position because of the state capture. South Africa and also the police, the crime intelligence, but also our national intelligence agencies are busy recuperating. There are some steps in place to revive them. We saw that the capacity, but also the know-how, it really drained from those agencies. And we also saw that, you know, the GILAP Act, that is your Amendment Act on Intelligence, is currently again referred back to Parliament. They're busy beefing that up, and that is all put in place in order to revamp our intelligence capability. That is not what it is supposed to be at the moment. There are pockets of excellence, but we are lacking when it comes to that. And you mentioned the countries, the Cabo Delgado province is very peculiar. It is you know, from Palma in Cabo Delgado to Maputo is almost the same distance than from Maputo to Windhoek. So it's a very vast distance, and they are very disengaged from the capital down south. So a lot of the dynamics in that province is either north to Tanzania or to the west to Malawi and also to Zambia. So there's a lot of movement there. We also saw that there was a lot of refugees that actually ended up in Malawi after this unrest. So that is the dynamics there. But we also saw that about 30 convicted terrorists escaped from the prison in Maputo, and we do not know if they have been recaptured.
Yeah, just maybe a last question here, Willem. The texture and grounding of terrorism in East, West and Northern Africa is rooted in religious extremism, and often that manifests in jihadism. Is that the same for what's going on in Mozambique, where it seems like terrorist organizations there are more engaged in a resource war rather than jihadism or some form of religious extremism?
Yeah, you are right. You know, the drivers for this insurgency is actually three or fourfold. But even though they use religion as a vehicle to obtain their objectives, and that is why the coastal area, that is predominantly your Muslim area, is where they are very active and where they also have a lot of support. If you go up to the highlands toward Muera, that is your traditional Christian areas, they do not have that support there that they have in the coastal areas. And we also see that in the other countries, Nampula province, when they went to recruit people there, it is where they've got a huge Muslim community. So they are targeting the Muslim community in order to gather people to train and to strengthen their footprint there. So that is your challenge, but we also must just understand, in ISIS is this year, if you look at the global terrorism or the global terrorism watch, it says that ISIS and the epicenter moved from the Middle East to Africa, where the epicenter of terrorism in the last 24 months were actually in Mali and in Burkina Faso, but also you have your problems in Somalia and DRC and all the way down to Maputo, and all of them are linked.
Yeah. Willem Els, we're going to have to leave it there. Really do appreciate you. Thank you for your insights once again.